And at 10, Dormammu. Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Although he had been mentioned several times in dialogue along with his realm, the Dark Dimension, he only made his first appearance in Strange Tales number 126 and 127 in 1964. While Strange had been battling one-off mystic threats prior to this, Dormammu became a recurring villain for the character and a threat unlike they had ever faced before. He started with a starring role in the 15-issue storyline in Strange Tales number 131 to 146, and has made several appearances in other series like the Avengers, Defenders, Thor, and Hellcat. He also appeared in the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s and can be seen in the Venom saga, where he returns Venom as symbiote and creates Carnage in order to help him escape the Dark Dimension. But thanks to Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Venom teaming up, he was sent back along with Carnage and Venom. He didn't make his silver screen debut until 2016 in Doctor Strange, where he got in an eternal struggle with Strange until he was ready to leave Earth alone. Fun fact, Dormammu was actually mocapped by Cucumber Patch and voiced by a mix of him and another unnamed British actor. And if you don't consider him a demon, you don't remember him being a former Lord of Hell. Yeah, it's a thing.
Number 9. Etrigan the Demon. Etrigan is a demon who is bound to the human Jason Blood. He was summoned by Merlin, who was trying to learn all of his, demon secrets. But when he couldn't, he just decided to bond the demon with a human, Jason Blood. Now, bonded with a demon, Jason became immortal and now lives in the modern era. Even though the two have clashed over the years, they decided to use their partnership to fight for the side of good. Although, Jason, and Etrigan have been known to dabble with the dark side every now and again. Of course, because he's a demon, he's very enhanced with strength, speed, hellfire projection, sorcery, immortality, and all that fun stuff. Number 8. Blue Devil. Dan Cassidy was the stuntman and special effects artist and got hired to play the main character in a movie called Blue Devil. He was tasked with creating an outfit for the character. It was made out of Kevlar, so it was really strong and durable. But the movie required, you guessed it, a lot of stunts. During the shoot, Dan was in the suit doing a scene when they accidentally released a real demon, and eventually they managed to send the demon back to where it came from, but not before it shot a blast of demonic energy. After trying to, take the suit off, he realized it was now permanently part of him. Not officially a demon at first, Dan actually became one later after being defeated by Neuron in Hell. Dan later decided to use his powers to help people, and his powers include strength, speed, durability, healing, and enhanced senses. Number 7. Damian Hellstrom. Known as the hero Hellstorm, he is the son of Victoria Hellstrom and the demon lord Satan. The Hellstrom family had a long history of worshipping the devil, and eventually Victoria took that to the next level and actually had a child with Satan. Victoria ran a cult called the Chapel of Dresden, whose goal was to have a demonic child who would eventually take over the earth. At first it looked like Damon lived a fairly normal life, but he really didn't. Like, instead of feeding him normal baby formula as a kid, his mom fed him human blood. His mother was later placed in an insane asylum, and Damian and his sister were separated and raised by different families. It was only as he got older and his mother passed away that Damian found out about his real father. Damian eventually began to harness his abilities and became one of the most powerful magic users in the Marvel Universe. Doctor Strange even thought of passing the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme onto him once. He eventually took on the name of Hellstorm and became the ruler of Hell, but still fights for the good side. His powers include strength, spellcasting, durability, and he can cast Hellfire from his trident. Number 6. Lucifer Morningstar. Okay, so Lucifer isn't really like a superhero, more of an anti-hero. And he doesn't always do good things, but, he has, and that's why he's on the list. Lucifer was an angel who rebelled against the kingdom of heaven and was sent to rule hell by the presence. He ruled there for billions of years until one day he just became bored with it and decided to leave hell and move to Los Angeles. He went on to run a piano bar called Lux. But, being the ruler of hell for over 10 billion years, you make a lot of enemies. So people will decide to come after him, and he needs to fend them off. Being the devil gives him numerous abilities including flight, hellfire, manipulation, healing, strength, and yeah, he's immortal. So number 5, Raven. Raven is the daughter of the demon Trigon. Raven was raised in a dimension called Azarath, and she was taught to control her emotions by Azar. So, she could control by Azar. Later, when she was back on Earth, she found out that her father Trigon was coming for her and prepared to stop him. She went to the Justice League for help, but unfortunately, they refused because Zatanna sensed her demon ancestry and said that, she couldn't be trusted. This led Raven to be one of the founding members of the group known as the Teen Titans. The Titans defeated Trigon, but he wasn't gone for good, they never are, and he was always trying to secretly influence Raven and eventually returned again. Because of her demon heritage, Raven is extremely powerful. Her powers include astral projection, flight, telekinesis, teleportation, empathy, darkness manipulation, and she can cast magic spells. Number 4, Constantine. Okay, so while he's not technically a full demon, he did have demon blood flowing through him for a very long time, so that's why he's on the list. And that's probably why he's not number 1. If he was like a full demon, he would be number 1 because he's just awesome. John Constantine, and yes, I know technically it's pronounced Constantine in the original source material. The pronunciation of Constantine has become way more popular, and it's been used for almost all of his live action and animated appearances, so I'm just using that, and also, it just sounds so much cooler. Constantine, Constantine, like come on. Okay, so John Constantine is a magic-using con man. He was born in Liverpool and grew up in London. His mother died during childbirth, and his father blamed him for it. John is a master of the dark arts, having practiced his whole life. He can cast spells, summon demons, travel to different dimensions, and all of that fun stuff. He also smokes, like a lot. And he says whatever he wants, which tends to make a lot of people hate him. But that's why we love him. Number 3, Spawn. Spawn, originally known as Al Simmons, was a highly trained soldier. He worked for the United States Marine Corps, the Secret Service, and the CIA. And while on a mission for the CIA, Al was murdered by his friend Bruce. And who gave the order? Well, it was none other than the CIA director Jason Wynn. Then Al got sent to hell because, he killed a lot of people over his time, and decided, hey, I'm gonna make a deal so I can go up and see my wife again, Wanda. Well, of course, things don't go exactly as planned when you make a deal in hell. So he returns to Earth, but now as a hell spawn. He doesn't really remember a lot, and he looks completely different. He does eventually manage to remember his wife, and he goes to see her. Turns out 5 years have passed, and she's remarried and has a kid. So now he's just forced to do the bidding of a demon from hell. He goes after really dangerous people and other supernatural creatures. His powers include strength, durability, and his symbiotic suit, which protects him. Number 2, Hellboy. Hellboy was found as a baby in 1944 by US soldiers. He was then later raised by Professor Trevor Brutenholm, and as he got older, he went to work for the BPRD, the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. Since then, he has devoted his life to fight the paranormal. It was also later revealed that he was born to actually summon the apocalypse, but he had other plans. And due to his demon heritage, Hellboy is a lot stronger than the average human. He has enhanced strength, accelerated healing, and he ages really slowly. Plus, he also has his trusty right hand of doom, which can do an insane amount of damage, and his handgun, the Good Samaritan.
And finally, in at number 1, Mephisto. If there's one thing you should know about Mephisto, it's that he is not the kind of demon you want to be going signing contracts and shaking hands with. Mephisto is infamous for his use of wordplay to extort all kinds of people out of their or their loved ones' souls in exchange for a flawed promise of power, happiness, peace of mind, or good fortune. Mephisto has been responsible for a whole number of things in Marvel Comics, like the whole corrupting Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden thing, the creation of multiple different Ghost Riders, the conflict between Apocalypse and the 10th Century Avengers. He caused the corruption of Norman Osborn, sending him down the path of becoming the Green Goblin. He held the soul of Victor Von Doom's mom hostage for a very good long time, and he was instrumental in the infamous One More Day storyline, where he saved the life of Aunt May and erased everyone's mind of Spider-Man's secret identity in exchange for Peter and Mary Jane's marriage, which is just straight up rude. This demon isn't Satan, but he uses that persona to trick people even further. Never make a deal with the devil, and never make a deal with Mephisto, ever. Just don't do it, it's bad.
Number 10, Zarathos. Zarathos started off as most demons do, in hell. He was known for corrupting the Blood, a group of beings responsible for overseeing the benevolent spirits of vengeance. He did this in the classic demon way of promising them more power when he was in fact taking their powers for himself in order to become an even more powerful evil demon. He's all about that upward mobility. When stunt driver Johnny Blaze made a deal with the demon Mephisto, more on him later, Mephisto bonded Zarathos to Johnny, making him the Ghost Rider. This partnership grants Ghost Rider a variety of demonic powers, most notably the penance stare, which causes a victim to experience every bit of pain that they have ever caused for all of eternity. While this is scary, the fact that victims of the penance stare usually have it coming makes it a bit less frightening for the average reader, placing Zarathos at the bottom of our list.
Number 9, Malbolgia. Look, I'm not even a huge Spawn fan, but even I know that not mentioning Malbolgia on this list would be a sin. The ruler of the 8th sphere of hell, Malbolgia is the whole reason Al Simmons ever became Spawn in the first place. Over 70,000 years ago, this demon was created by a past ruler of Hell using necroplasm rivers. But the demon was just so powerful that he betrayed, overpowered, and took the life of his creator. In order to wage a war on heaven and destroy God, he created an army of Hellspawn, but he needed a general, which is apparently in pretty short supply. So when he found Al Simmons, he went hard to corrupt the man. He made a deal with a man named Jason Wynn to take Al's life. Now, in Hell, Malebolgia made a deal for Al to become his general in exchange for being able to see his wife. What Al didn't sign up for was being sent back to the mortal plane 5 years into the future. Malebolgia continued to tear down Spawn until Spawn went back to Hell and attacked the demon with the help of Angela and her blade, which he used to lop the head clean off this demon. But that didn't stop the demon for too long.
Number 8, Naster, or as I like to say, Nasty. That's what I like to call him, but I don't know if that's how it's intended. You can let me know in the comments how you think that's intended to be said, or if you know someone has actually said it somewhere and I missed it. If I've learned anything from the tragic tale of Madeline Pryor, it's that you maybe shouldn't make deals with demons from limbo. Although that being said, I do love Madeline Pryor as the Goblin Queen, and I kinda love the woman that she has become. So maybe you should make deals with demons like Naster. I don't know. No. Probably best to just not. Just don't do it, even though it's tempting. Unless you want to conquer New York and unleash the demon hordes of limbo upon it, and also do so through, ritual sacrifice. A ritual sacrifice that may demand you sacrifice your own kin. Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass on dealing with Nasty.
Number 7, Anton Arcane. Imagine being such a nasty, evil guy that once you are finally destroyed and are sent to Hell, they recognize you and give you a promotion so that you can return as a demon. Well, that's what happened to Anton Arcane. Anton was basically a depraved and cruel scientist who was obsessed with immortality and biology. He would begin to mix science with dark magic, becoming the arch-nemesis to Swamp Thing, who he thought held the key to immortality. He had a whole army of deformed unmen that he would cause problems for the world and Swamp Thing with, being defeated multiple times until his actual passing. But that just left him free for a demon upgrade. Needless to say, he's not someone you ever want to run into. In the Prime Earth continuity, Arcane stumbled upon a trapped rabbit in the woods, got excited, and ate the rabbit's rotting remains. The act was so nasty that the Parliament of Decay came to him and made him their avatar, and he did their bidding for more than a century. Either way, an absolutely disgusting human turned into a demon. Not fun.
Number 6, Lucifer. As much as I love Lucifer, I would never strike a bargain with him. I've read enough comics to learn that it does not tend to end well for those that do. And even when it seems like you're making a deal that would actually be in your favor, it sounds good, even when Lucifer seems to be, like giving you a gift. It's generally not what it seems, and usually striking the bargain or accepting said gift makes your life a living hell. Add in the fact that Lucifer Morningstar is also one of the most powerful beings in the whole dang multiverse over at DC, perhaps even the Omniverse, and it makes sense that many beings, even some of the most powerful like Dream, don't generally like to leave themselves vulnerable in Lucifer's presence or indebted to them. While Lucifer doesn't usually make a habit of lying to anyone and is actually more likely to be blatantly honest with those whom they deal with, that doesn't mean that they aren't skilled at manipulating and tricking people. Even more terrifying when you consider that generally Lucifer does this honestly. While we could easily classify Lucifer as demonic, as I've done here, being that, Lucifer is known for having been the ruler of Hell for more than a millennia, technically Lucifer is actually a fallen angel. Just adding this to let you know that yes, I do know that, yes, but also Lucifer's connection to Hell trumps everything to me.
Number 5, Shuma Gorath. Shuma Gorath is the greatest of the leaders of the Old Ones, also known as the Many-Angled Ones. Think like Lovecraftian old gods, and that's basically the Old Ones. Madness and tentacles and cosmic horror. That kind of thing. Shuma Gorath is the ruler of hundreds of dimensions and is said to be older than the universe itself. It has many mystical powers, including the ability to communicate and control others across dimensions, create mystical energy blasts from his eye and tentacles, and can transmute things on a planetary scale. He can destroy multiple galaxies with his aura pressure ability, and can destroy realities by using tentacle energy balls. This monster is being first fully premiered in Marvel Premiere Volume 1, number 10. In the comic, Shuma Gorath ends up using the mind of the Ancient One, Doctor Strange's mentor, as a portal to the dimension of Earth. It eventually leads Doctor Strange having to take the life of his mentor and become Sorcerer Supreme. Other stories have showed all the Earth's heroes even struggling to scratch a simple representation of Shuma Gorath. This demon is less a force to be reckoned with and more like an unstoppable cosmic apocalypse who none of us would survive against. So yeah, we don't want to deal with him.
Number 4. Sim. If there is any one demon from Marvel that first comes to mind when I think untrustworthy, one of my tippy top picks would be Sim. Sim is typically the right hand demon of whoever happens to be running Limbo at the time, which is precisely why if you take over Limbo and he offers his services, you should just say no and don't trust him. Probably backstab you at some point. I've seen it happen too many times.
Number 3. Neron. Dan Cassidy was a pro-Hollywood stuntman for a long time. His last project was the horror flick The Blue Devil, for which he designed, created, and had to wear a mechanical blue suit equipped with the superhero starter pack of super strength, speed, stamina, agility, durability, the whole thing, plus some enhanced senses. Now after Dan's crush and some of the crew accidentally freed a vicious demon named Nibiros, Dan was magically fused to the costume, trapping him inside the suit forever. Now you may think that would make Nibiros the bad guy here, but Dan later would make a deal with one of DC's most powerful demons, the fallen angel and hell lord known as Neron, gaining fame in exchange for Dan's loved ones. Now that's a bad deal. After Dan fought Neron, he was turned into a real Blue Devil, but that was just part of a story called Underworld Unleashed, where Neron played the enemy to the Justice League when he came to Earth and offered both heroes and villains their wildest dreams in exchange for their immortal souls. Neron has also been responsible for the deaths of both Wonder Woman and the alien Mongol, and has attempted to corrupt so many different heroes like Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern, Shazam, Superman, the Spectre, the Elongated Man, Dr. Fate, and more.
Number 2. Azazel. While Marvel has their own Azazel, the one from DC is quite different, as you can obviously hear just even between those two pronunciations. He is one of the 3 princes of hell over at DC, ruling alongside Beelzebub and Lucifer. Azazel was also a fallen angel condemned to hell for his own part in the rebellion against God in heaven. Azazel was known for corrupting humanity by introducing them to the concept of sin. He came to Dream following Lord Morpheus's acquisition of the key to hell, making a case for why it should be returned to him and all of demonkind, as hell had been and was their rightful realm and home. Ultimately though, he was not given the key, despite not only stating his case, but also bargaining with the Dream Lord and then attempting to renounce his hospitality and attack those under his care, which went about as well as you can imagine it went. It did not go well for Azazel. I don't know why he thought that would be a good idea. All in all, that's a pretty bad play when you're in the Dream Lord's realm, but it definitely serves to show how he simply can't be trusted, so hence why I'm talking about it on this list.
And number 1, Ghost Rider. Oh, Ghost Rider, the spirit of vengeance. He has been linked to multiple people throughout the years, but today I'm going to talk about the most famous one, Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze was a motorcycle stuntman who ended up making you guessed it, a deal with Mephisto to save his surrogate father, Crash Simpson, from dying of cancer. Man, people need to stop making deals with demons and devils. It always goes badly. Always. Mephisto cured Crash and told Johnny that one day he would come back and collect. Later on, Crash attempted an insane motorcycle stunt, trying to jump over 22 cars. Crash died attempting the stunt. After that, Mephisto showed up to collect what he was owed. Johnny then was like, hey, why'd you double cross me? And Mephisto was like, no, I cured your surrogate father of cancer. And that was the deal. Because of the deal, Johnny Blaze now becomes the Ghost Rider. Every night, he would transform and punish the wicked. When he transforms, he becomes one of the most powerful heroes in the Marvel Universe. His powers include super strength, stamina, durability, healing, hellfire manipulation, and the penance stare, which is when he makes someone stare into his eyes and makes them experience all the pain that they have ever caused to someone else. Creepy.
Number 10. Ginea. Ginea sewed her eyes shut originally to focus on her telepathy. Her powers involve telepathic and shapeshifting abilities. She's also able to absorb physical blows without really even feeling them. Her body overall is quite durable. Like some of the mutants we talked about on the part 1 of this list, she is also a Neophem, a very ancient demonic type of mutant. Ginea was also one of the members of Azazel's army, looking to escape the Brimstone dimension where they were trapped. She met her end against the X-Men in their fight to escape when Iceman dehydrated her, killing her. And man, That is a way to go. Did not look pleasant.
And at 9, Nightmerica. You enjoyed the last time I brought characters in that weren't just from comics, so I figured I'd do the same here with Nightmerica. This female demon ghost is from my favorite childhood show that ended too soon, Danny Phantom, and is a parody of the Nightmare on Elm Street character Freddy Krueger. Originally she was just a movie character inside the Danny Phantom universe, until Danny and Tugger decided to head to another girl's party instead of going to the movies with their best friend Sam like they said. When Sam figures out what happened, she wishes for something to happen to the other girl named Paulina. When the ghost known as Desiree overhears Sam's wish, she brings Nightmerica to life along with 2 other ghosts in order to kill Paulina. She has the typical set of ghost powers: flight, invisibility, intangibility, and possesses supernatural strength, being able to throw someone across the room. She resembles Freddy Krueger but with green hair and claws because she's a ghost, you know? Her only other appearance is in the episode called Phantom Planet, the series finale, where she, spoiler alert, helps in turning the planet intangible to prevent a meteor that ghosts aren't able to touch go through the planet in order for the planet to be saved, since the ghost zone and our world are linked. God, I missed that show. Hashtag go ghost again. And at 8, Mephisto. Based on a demon from the Legend of Faust, Mephisto first appeared in the Silver Surfer #3 in the Silver Age. The character made his silver screen appearance in 2007's Ghost Rider starring Nicolas Cage. Mephisto has been responsible for many an evil act in the Marvel Universe, including capturing the soul of Dr. Doom's mother, creating the Ghost Rider, which may not be considered evil even though he was posed as Satan, and even was Thanos' servant during the War of the Gems, but instead looking to gain that power for himself. He also managed to capture the soul of the Richards family, including Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, and their son Franklin Richards, who is basically a god. But he's also gone on a date with New Mutants member Magma, because apparently the force that created him also gave him emotions and desires, and we all know what that means. He wants to occasionally do human things. He was also summoned by Superior Spider-Man, Doc Ock inside Peter Parker's body, to get him to stop Spider-Man of Earth 44145, but as Mephisto replies, "Sorry, that's out of my jurisdiction." And at 7, Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Pennywise, also known as It, is the main antagonist of Stephen King's novel It. Pennywise is a form of ancient cosmic evil that is also considered a demon by many, that preys on the children of Derry, Maine, since they're the only ones who can see him, roughly every 27 years or so. He has a wide array of powers, including but not limited to shape-shifting, going unnoticed by adults, bending reality, teleportation, and manipulation of objects and humans. In the novel, he starts his killing spree by taking the life of Georgie, the younger brother of protagonist Bill. The character is always watching his prey, appearing several times in the background of both parts of the new movies. Pennywise was created when King asked himself what scares children the most, the answer being clowns. So he created one who was similar to the troll in the children's tale 3 Billy Goats Gruff, but who inhabited a sewer system. There is no other explanation needed for this character, as I'm sure we all know who Pennywise is, and he definitely deserves to be on this list. Definitely a demon. And at 6, Surtur. Surtur is a fire giant based on Surtur from Norse mythology. Surtur is a native to the land of fire demons whose name I won't even try to pronounce. He first appeared briefly in Journey into Mystery number 97 in 1963, but this was only to set him up, as his first proper appearance was in Journey into Mystery number 99 that same year. The character made his silver screen appearance in Thor Ragnarok, where he was prophesied to be the destruction of Asgard, where Thor just laughs in his face and then takes his crown to the trophy room of Asgard, only to set him loose to fulfill the prophecy in the climax of the movie in order to defeat Hela, the goddess of death, and his sister. But as Korg says, as long as the foundations are strong, we can rebuild this place. But oh no, those foundations are gone. That was a terrible Korg voice, but whatever. The fiery demon stands at over 1,000 feet tall and has power of apocalyptic proportions, surpassing those of Thor. Generating heat or near concussive force is like playing with a baby to him. He has the ability to transform his fingers into serpents, levitate, and travel through dimensions. He is on the same level as Odin, a skilled swordsman and warrior, and that tail is something to marvel. No pun intended. But I guess I left it in the script, so pun intended? And at 5, Azazel. There are multiple Azazels that can be considered supervillains. There is the Marvel version, who first appeared in Uncanny X-Men number 428, who is the father to Nightcrawler, who is the member of the, sorry if I butcher this, Nephim, an ancient race of demonic mutants who were at constant war with their angelic counterparts. Azazel was in fact their leader, and has the powers of teleportation, shapeshifting, superhuman agility, night vision, and an advanced healing factor, immortality, telepathy, hypnosis, dark arts mastery, and sword combat mastery. These are incredible abilities, but if you're looking for a literal demon, look no further than the television show Supernatural. At first referred to as Yellow Eyes or the Yellow-Eyed Demon, Azazel is literally a demon and is the reason the whole show began. This demon killed the main character's mother, hence why the family started hunting the supernatural. Oh, I get it. He also ended up killing Sam's girlfriend, causing him to join Gene on his hunt to find their father. He was the driving force behind the first 2 seasons of the show, spoiler alert, meeting his end in the season 2 finale with the use of the Colt, a specially designed gun to kill anything with the use of special bullets, which was the only weapon they had to kill demons at that point. And at 4, Satan. Lucifer Morningstar is one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe. While DC has had various depictions of the fallen angel, this interpretation debuted in The Sandman Volume 2 number 4 in 1989. The later Lucifer spin-off would have him adventuring on Earth, heaven, and other realms of his family's creation and in uncreated voids after abandoning Hell and the Sandman. He would also later appear in The Demon, The Spectre, and other DC comics. After his abandoning of Hell, others have taken his place. 2 angels, for example, even a human, and somehow even Superman had a brief rule over Hell. Lucifer made his first on-screen appearance in the Constantine film in 2005, but more recently in the Lucifer show, where he has made an appearance as the devil in the CW crossover event Crisis on Infinite Earths, where he grants Constantine, John Diggle, and Mia Smoke Queen, Oliver Queen's daughter from the future, the ability to go into purgatory and retrieve Oliver's soul to return it to his body after his death. This also confirmed that the series takes place on Earth 666, which if it hadn't of, I would have been livid and I would have started a riot, just saying. And at 3, Blackheart. The technical son of Mephisto, Blackheart was under his father's tutelage when he learned what not to do, and that he should be doing it anyway. He even took on the Daredevil and Spider-Man but failed to corrupt them. But Blackheart wasn't happy being a Prince of Hell. He decided he wished to overthrow his father, so in an attempt to get help in doing so, he led Ghost Rider, Punisher, and Wolverine to Christ's Town in an attempt to corrupt them. The 3 heroes ended up following Blackheart into his dimension for a final confrontation, where Blackheart pitched the idea. He first appeared in Daredevil number 270 in 1989 and has some pretty dope powers, including superhuman strength, speed, durability, telekinesis, telepathy, levitation, interdimensional teleportation, size alteration, regenerative healing, energy generation, soul capturing, which allows him to take the soul without needing permission, which is wrong. Coming from a ginger, always take souls with consent. He also has mind control, immortality, and penance stare immunity, so Ghost Rider can't really do that much to Blackheart. Jesus, this guy's pretty damn powerful. But again, take souls with consent. Penultimately at number 2, Lord Loss. Doing something a little different here. Lord Loss is a demon master and main antagonist of the book series The Demonata by Darren Shan. These books are incredible, and if you like demons, which you clearly do because you're still watching this, I highly suggest you read it. These books were everything to me from grade 10 onwards. Anyway, he is the only character to appear in all 10 books of the series, not necessarily present, but he's at least mentioned, and his appearance is that of nightmares. Pale red lumpy skin covers his body with 8 mangled arms and no heart, instead a hole filled with tiny venomous snakes. He has dark red eyes and even darker pupils. He doesn't walk. He floats above the ground with strips of bloody flesh hanging from where his feet should be. His skin is cracked all over and blood seeps through these cracks. He enjoys chess, even plays it for sport with humans who are infected with lycanthropy. If they win, he will cure one member of the family, but if they lose, he will torture them for very long periods of time due to the fact that he feeds on the suffering of humans. Therefore, isn't interested in mindless killing like other demons. At first, I pictured this demon wearing a suit. I don't know why, I just wanted to. But ever since seeing drawings of the character, I'm surprised I wasn't scared to death by these books. They're incredible. My favorite 2 are the 2nd and 3rd, Demon Thief and Slaughter. Again, highly suggest you read these books because they're amazing and extremely well written. God, do it.
And then in at number 1, finally, is Shuma Gorath. Shuma Gorath is an incredibly ancient demon made up of sheer power, and he is one of the primal powers of chaos in the multiverse. To even call him a demon feels like kind of an understatement. In comparison to him, other powerful demons such as Dormammu have expressed their inferiority to Shuma Gorath, and the powerful hell lords like Mephisto and Satanish have called themselves rats in a greater temple under the power of Shuma Gorath. Nightmare himself serves Shuma Gorath, as do so many other demons. Shuma Gorath is probably the most powerful of all the great old ones and many angled ones. His true form isn't even comprehensible to us humans. He just appears as that big eye with armored skin and tentacles that he can use to destroy not only multiple galaxies, but whole realities. Practically unstoppable and fully omnipotent in his own dimension, and able to extend his reach across dimensional barriers, his power and influence has grown to rule over hundreds of dimensions and universes. He's the demon that demons themselves fear.
At number 10, Lady Death. Lady Death was originally a mortal named Hope, who decided to make a deal with a demon so she wouldn't be burned at the stake. She then became a powerful queen of hell, although if you thought she'd be evil because of that, you would be wrong. Hope instead became a hero of sorts. Also, if you didn't guess, she became extremely powerful. Her powers include telekinesis, weather control, flight, spell casting, necromancy, teleportation, and she's basically invulnerable.
Coming in at number 9 is Blackheart. The character of Blackheart is a demon that was created by Mephisto using the combined evil energy from a town called Christ's Crown, a place that has drawn incredibly evil acts to it over centuries and centuries. This being, Mephisto's son, essentially, had immense power that could rival or even possibly overcome his creator. He even had a level of telekinesis that could destroy an entire planet if he chose to. He has fought off Punisher, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Wonder Man, a whole group of Avengers, and even a combined Red Hulk, Ghost Rider, and Venom. He could cast illusions, summon other demons, shapeshift, manipulate others, and he's even taken his papa's throne in his hell dimension for a time. Blackheart is not someone to trifle with. In at number 8 is the Dweller in Darkness. Like other fear lords like Nightmare, the Dweller in Darkness feeds off the fears of others. Big surprise there. Unlike Nightmare though, the Dweller followed a belief system known as the Way of the Shamblu, which led him to remove his head from his body. It's something a little taboo among others like him. In the universe that existed before the current one, the Dweller in Darkness actually caused a crack in the Macran crystal, or the nexus of all realities, which caused a chain reaction and unleashed the power of the End Galaxy within it, which resulted in the destruction of the universe. The Dweller hoped to feed off the fears of all living beings, knowing that the end is near, but the Phoenix Force touched all the minds of living beings in existence and united them in peace. But we are not skipping over the fact that he destroyed the whole universe on purpose. One of this demon's other greatest powers is the ability to create other beings out of the fear he ingests, one of which being the villain Despair, who very nearly made this list. If you are enjoying this list so far, be sure to drop a little old likey poo on this video. It really helps us out here at Top 10 Nerd. Number 7, Mephisto. Mephisto is just a big old pain in the butt. His whole shtick is posing around as the devil and ruling over his dimension, which he calls hell. But he is not actually the biblical devil, and his dimension isn't actually hell. He just uses the idea of these things to instill fear in his victims, making it easier to manipulate them. His MO involves him constantly trying to trick people into giving him their souls, usually in exchange for something, but he's usually got some kind of wordplay going on that allows him to get away with not actually giving his victims what they want, and usually leaving them worse for wear. His most famous soul-stealing escapades would be when he turned Johnny Blaze into the Ghost Rider, or when he was trying to steal the soul of the incredibly noble Norrin Radd, aka the Silver Surfer. Or there's even the time he turned into a snake and tricked Adam and Eve into eating that damn apple. Yes, that was Mephisto. In fact, one of his main weaknesses is his reliance on a person to submit to giving him their corrupted soul, which, while he is probably one of the most powerful Hell Lords, with an almost unlimited amount of power in his Hell dimension, his power is also directly linked to his realm, so whenever he is away, he will get weaker and weaker as time goes on. Number 6, Surtur. Surtur is the gigantic fire demon who possesses powers of apocalyptic proportions and has been plaguing Asgard since time immemorial. He wields the Twilight Sword, a magical sword capable of manipulating mystical energies, breaking interdimensional barriers, and summoning hordes of demons. He is the one who brings about Ragnarok, literally fated to take the life of Odin and destroy Asgard. Being on par with Odin, he is actually technically more powerful than the other 4 demons on this list so far. It's just that this guy is mainly focused on Asgardians and usually doesn't go off trying to mess with anyone else, even if he totally could. Number 5, Dormammu. Dormammu is a member of a race known as the Faultine, who are composed entirely of mystical energy, but he set himself apart, becoming immensely more powerful and eventually becoming the ruler of the Dark Dimension, with enough power to destroy almost all other mystical demons. According to the Sorcerer Supreme, Dormammu is the most feared enemy with the power to defeat the Avengers, Defenders, and Eternity itself. He can absorb pocket dimensions and has enough power to pose a threat to the universe. Unfortunately, Dormammu is prone to making mistakes and abiding by a code of honor that usually results in his loss. Number 4, Set. Set here is one of the Elder Gods, beings of immense power that were some of the first sentient life on Earth. Of all of them though, Set was the first to realize that he could steal the power of his other Elder Gods by consuming them, which he discovered by taking out his own brother, making him the first ever killer. This set off a whole war between the Elder Gods, with most of them devolving into demons. Set himself is portrayed as a seven-headed serpent, and his constant contest for power had him finally defeated and banished to a dimension all of his own, where he is omnipotent and all-powerful. He was banished because it is practically impossible to actually permanently take him down. Now, like his other fallen brethren, he constantly seeks to find a way to enter back into our reality through his followers and magical artifacts. Number 3. Chthon. If you thought Set was bad, well, here's his brother. Chthon is one of the most powerful demons to ever exist. He has a huge influence over the earth, causing some of the darkest events ever. Even though he predates anything of this nature, of all the devil-like demons out there, Chthon is probably the closest thing to the actual devil. He and his Ngari actually ruled the earth before the angel Lucifer attacked them with his angelic army, before he ever rebelled against heaven and became the ruler of hell. Chthon himself is responsible for all the witches, werewolves, vampires, harpies, goblins, troids, night gaunts, and other dark creatures, as well as being the master of the most powerful form of magic, chaos magic. That's the same stuff used by Scarlet Witch, who has altered all of reality with just a fraction of that power. His opposite, Oshtur, is one of the 3 beings that make up the Vishanti, and they stand in direct opposition to Chthon specifically, creating the Book of Vishanti in response to Chthon's Darkhold. Other demons and dark sorcerers, including Dormammu and Mephisto, call on Chthon's name to cast some of their strongest spells, and the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange, was almost corrupted and killed by Chthon's presence alone. Number 2. The One Below All. If Chthon is like the darkest possible magic-wielding demon, the One Below All is like the idea of strength and destruction taken to their absolute farthest, darkest limits. At least that's how I see it. Now, I'm not totally sure about my ranking here. From the possible future we saw in Immortal Hulk, the One Below All was capable of destroying literally everything that has ever existed. We have to assume this included every other demon on this list, as there was literally nothing left. The One Below All is the complete opposite of the One Above All, trapped in the below place, which is the lowest level of hell. This entity is the source of gamma radiation, and he's the reason it has mutated certain individuals like the Hulk. The One Below All can manipulate and influence these mutates to help do its bidding, but it also seems to influence non-gamma mutated individuals as well to do things they wouldn't normally do. The only problem is that the One Below All is fairly new to comics and hasn't really been able to show the full capability of his power, except for when it destroyed literally everything in the universe. It's similar to the way the One Above All has remained relatively obscure, only giving us brief glimpses of his capability.
Finally, in at number 1, Shumagorath. Shumagorath's first appearance was in Marvel Premiere number 5 in 1972. His name was taken from the short story The Curse of the Golden Skull by Robert E. Howard, which features a dying magician invoking the iron-bound books of Shumagorath in a curse against humanity. Fun! His powers include energy projection, reality manipulation, shapeshifting, levitation, teleportation, magical powers, and immortality. With the amount of people with immortality on this list, we could make a whole other list about demons who can't die. Shumagorath is one of the most powerful ancient demons to ever exist. Even Dormammu and Mephisto have said he is superior to them. The demon has unmatched power and was even once the ruler of Earth, until a time-traveling sorcerer managed to banish him. He even managed to beat Doctor Strange, causing him to kill the Ancient One. This ultra-powerful demon has rarely been defeated, and that is definitely deserving of the number 1 spot.
Starting us off in at number 10, Zarathos. Zarathos is a demonic being who tortures and devours souls. What a pastime. He's generally an antagonist for Ghost Rider in Marvel's comics. Now, the demon first appeared in 1972's Marvel Spotlight issue 5, and he's terrifyingly powerful. He's virtually immortal and has superhuman strength, a healing factor, and elemental powers that allow him to wield, control, and project hellfire from his hands. The more souls he consumes, the more powerful he becomes. Now, Mephisto fought against Zarathos to put an end to his reign of terror, making him need to bond with a human host in order to collect souls. Hence why the demon is bonded to Ghost Rider. Speaking of, that brings us to our next number.
Number 9, Etrigan. How to explain the origin of Etrigan in a way that won't get this video banned? Well, When a mommy demon and a daddy demon are at war and want to broker a peace, they will copulate on top of the bodies of their fallen soldiers and make a demon baby. Yes, I am totally serious. The demon Etrigan was first summoned to Earth by the wizard Merlin in an attempt to save Camelot from destruction. When that failed, Merlin bound Etrigan to Jason Blood. The two have been a force for both good and evil over the years, but Etrigan's love of causing pain is often barely kept in check by Jason. For example, in Action Comics number 637, Jason and Etrigan are hired to perform an exorcism on a child. They succeed, but Etrigan immediately tries to eat the child, and is only dissuaded when Jason threatens to end his life. Also, Etrigan only speaks in rhyme, which makes everything he does have an even creepier edge to it, like a evil Lin-Manuel Miranda. Number 8. Azazel. Azazel is one of the Dukes of Hell and is the father of Hellboy. Hellboy's mother was a witch named Sarah Hughes who made a deal with the demon in exchange for powers. She later changed her mind and attempted to renege on the deal. In response, Azazel set fire to Sarah's children and informed her that she would give birth to his son. He then put her on a hook and rode off with her on a horse for hell. Sarah would die giving birth to Hellboy, whose father then cut off his hand and replaced it with his trademark right hand of doom. Not exactly Dad of the Year material. Number 7. First of the Fallen. The First of the Fallen was the first being created in the universe, but after falling out with God, he was banished to hell, thus making him the First of the Fallen. When Lucifer decided to give up his throne so that he could travel the world as a mortal, First of the Fallen was handed the keys to hell and became Satan. He successfully delayed the birth of a Messiah by infecting John Constantine with demon's blood and tricking him into sleeping with the intended mother of the Messiah. The demon's blood passed to her like mono in a college dorm, and she became unsuitable to carry the Messiah. He is also extremely patient and petty, such as when he spent 20 years messing with a priest, convincing him to take his own life just to mess with Constantine. Number 6. Barbados. A bit of DC Comics multiverse lore for you. A character named the World Forger uses the hopes and fears of every living creature as the basis for various different universes in the multiverse. The more stable ones get to join the main multiverse, while the unstable ones get destroyed by a dragon named Barbados. Barbados eventually tired of just destroying unstable universes and turned on his master, deciding to try and destroy the main multiverse. He scoured the dark multiverse, finding the worst versions of Batman, such as the Batman Who Laughs, and formed a team in hopes of using them to enact his evil plan. Now, I don't know about you, but any creature who can look at the Batman Who Laughs and think, this guy's exactly what I'm looking for, scares the crap out of me. Incidentally, it was revealed that he was the bat that crashed through the window in Wayne Manor that inspired Bruce Wayne to become Batman. Number 5. Dormammu. Ah, Dormammu, the ruler of the dark dimension. After teaming up with his twin sister Umar to murder their parents, Sinifer, the two left home to travel the multiverse, pursuing a career in murder and destruction, before eventually settling in and taking over the dark dimension. Not one to share power, Dormammu eventually banished his sister and became the sole ruler. Dormammu has been responsible for many awful events, such as the Great Fire of London, and influencing a man into becoming Jack the Ripper in 1888. He was eventually tricked into a bargain with Doctor Strange that made the demon promise to never return to Earth. This has moved Doctor Strange to the top of Dormammu's enemies list and has resulted in the demon sending several of the Doctor's enemies after him, as Strange's death at the hands of a third party will result in their pact coming to a close. Number 4. Trigon. Trigon is a unique demon on this list, as he is just as much an alien as he is a demon. He was a regular, evil ruler of a planet until one day a group of aliens known as the Divine showed up, hoping to use something called the Great Heart of Darkness to eat his soul and cleanse the planet of evil. This backfired as Trigon absorbed the heart and gained the power of 100 galaxies worth of collected evils. It was at this point that the Divine revealed they were not a boy band as their name suggested, but were in fact his parents. This family reunion was cut short when Trigon skinned them and wore them like coats. He would go on to have many sons whose mothers he would kill, and one daughter, Raven. Raven would not end up going into the family business, but would instead end up joining the Teen Titans and becoming Trigon's greatest enemy. Number 3. Agony and Ecstasy. As we get near the top of the list, we have to ask the question, what are demons afraid of? The answer is the co-joined twin demons Agony and Ecstasy. Their job is to enforce the laws of hell by punishing any demons who break the rules or are defeated by humans more than 3 times. We rarely see them in action, but the fact that even the most renowned demons fear being in their clutches helps put them near the top of the list. Also, I'm giving them a lot of credit for being the most visually terrifying demons on this list. Considering how many of these demons look exactly the same, these two's distinctive look gets them a lot of mileage in my book. Number 2, Mephisto. Demons are usually written as beings from hell who try and take over human souls to bring them back to hell. It's scary, but it's what they do. That's what I find so creepy about Mephisto. Mephisto is the ruler of a pocket dimension that he calls hell. But to be clear, it is not the hell featured in the Bible. He also looks like the devil, but he is not Lucifer. Mephisto is using humanity's belief in the devil to gain power from their belief, like a really intense cosplayer. Mephisto has tangled with various heroes in the Marvel Universe over the years, perhaps most infamously in Amazing Spider-Man number 545, when he made a deal with Peter Parker to save his Aunt May from certain death at the cost of his marriage to Mary Jane. Mephisto is also known for being rumored to show up in MCU projects and then not making an appearance. Number 1. Chthon. The Earth's first black magician is scary less for the things he has done than for the things he has created. Chthon was the writer of the infamous Darkhold, a book of evil spells also known as the Shiatra Book of the Damned or the Book of Sins. He is also responsible for the creation of harpies and goblins, the real kind, not the glider-riding pumpkin bomb kind. His spells in the Darkhold were used to create the first vampires and the first werewolves, making him responsible for both the Twilight franchise and Morbius. One of his evil plans involved granting a young Wanda Maximoff the ability to use chaos magic, making him also indirectly responsible for every messed up awful thing ever done by the Scarlet Witch, except for her hooking up with her brother Quicksilver in the Ultimate Universe in Ultimates 3 issue number 1. The blame for that rests purely on Jeff Loeb's shoulders.
Alright, coming in at number 10 is Nightmare. Nightmare rules over the nightmare realm of the dream dimension where he feeds off of human psychic energy. Nightmare is also practically all-powerful in this home dimension, but he is constantly seeking to find a way to fully infiltrate our dimension so he can use his vast power to take over. That mission is actually a common thread for pretty much all these demons, if I'm gonna be honest. Nightmare himself has come into conflict with a very large number of heroes, famously the Hulk and the hero Cloak, but Doctor Strange is his biggest human rival, as that is sort of Doctor Strange's duty to keep our reality safe from demons like Nightmare. That's also a common thread for pretty much all the demons here. While he has been defeated before, Nightmare can never truly perish unless all the humans of the world stopped dreaming, which I doubt will ever happen anytime soon. Among his most impressive feats is capturing the mind of the cosmic entity known as Eternity after putting 1/3 of the population to sleep and channeling their dreams. And he's all the way down here at number 10.
Number 9, Jillian. Jillian was one of the members of Azazel's team of Neophem, those demonic mutants who were trying to escape the hellish brimstone dimension. Yeah, the ones I was just talking about. Her powers include flight and agility, making her a decent match for the X-Men's Angel. When Azazel's army was defeated by the X-Men and thereby remained trapped in the brimstone dimension, at least Jillian managed to survive the battle. Many of Azazel's other companions died during that fight. During the feud, Jillian also let it slip that she had a thing for Nightcrawler, but unfortunately for her, Kurt did not seem too interested. Probably because of, the whole evil thing, to be honest. Number 8, Nature Girl. Nature Girl's powers include the ability to connect with nature, meaning that she is often able to influence animals and creatures of the wilderness and convince them to do her bidding. In fact, her influence even extends beyond critters, allowing her to control weather and the elements as well. Included in the beings that she seems to have influence over are Bamfs, which seem to be very attracted to Lin Lee. It's Lin's connections to the Bamfs that has me pondering as to what other demonic creatures she might be able to influence. Is it possible that her nature powers extend to other realms, including the realms of demons? We have yet to see enough of her to be able to tell for sure, but it seems to me there is enough there to assume she might have some kind of demonic link when it comes to her abilities. Number 7, Archangel. Archangel is basically the demonic side of Angel, one of the founding members of the X-Men. Angel was originally transformed into his alter ego by Apocalypse when he was made his Horseman of Death, after Apocalypse manipulated his mind and altered his body on his celestial ship. This side of Angel resided within him even after he was freed from being Apocalypse's horseman and gave him a taste for death and destruction. In fact, he craved death and destruction a lot of the time. In this form, Angel has deadly techno-organic wings which not only allow him to fly, but also act as a shield, can fire poison-tipped organic feathers, and happen to be razor sharp and can be used themselves as blade-like weapons. Imagine having a sword fight with somebody's wings, oh my goodness. He also has a hypersonic scream, which can be used to cause internal organ damage to his enemies, and he has a proper healing factor in this form. He doesn't just have to bleed on people. Beyond him being the dark side of his original form as Angel, Archangel also at one point became Apocalypse. He was like a dark god hell-bent on world domination through replacing all life on Earth with life that he himself had created. You know, typical scary apocalypse things. Number 6. Young Beast. While Beast of Earth 616 sticks to science, young Hank McCoy from an alternate universe, temporarily and unofficially referred to as Earth 240, eventually turned to magics. In Volume 2 of All New X-Men, he is driven even further towards using the mystic arts, as he and the X-Men are forced to go up against the Goblin Queen and a demonic horde. In desperation, he accidentally performs a ritual that transforms him into a demonic beast, complete with giant horns. Well, not necessarily accidentally. He meant to do the ritual, but I don't think he really knew what he was doing, unfortunately. However, this ritual also levels up his powers enough to allow him to defeat Madeline Pryor. Yay! But of course, they come at a cost, because that's how magic works. Sometimes, depending on what lore you're reading, but sometimes it comes at a cost. Number 5. Wolverine, or as we knew him at the time, Hellverine. When Wolverine's soul was trapped in hell by Mystique and the Red Right Hand, a demon took possession of his body, which was still on Earth. This demon-possessed version of Wolverine wreaked havoc on Earth while Wolverine was gone, killing anyone who got in his way and targeting many of Wolverine's family and friends when it came to who he decided to attack. Wolverine would eventually regain control over his body after battling his way out of hell and dealing with the demons that resided within his own mind. Number 4. Cruel. Cruel is a mutant external who has been tied to the gods Ishtar and Mithra. Ishtar was in fact a god who is also known as Ayana in the comics. In fact, she is a god with many names. She herself has been tied to the story of hell, the Eldritch gods, and on the less dark side, love and fertility even. Under the name that Cruel evoked of Ishtar, she was known as a god who demanded orgies and blood sacrifices in her name. All that fun demonic stuff, you know. Cruel has a demonic look about him with large muscles, orange hair, and purple skin, and he often acts like one as well, known for his violence and cruelty. His love of violence and cruelty. During World War II, he was a Nazi who worked in a concentration camp where he operated a gas chamber. All too happily, really. Like other externals, he is immortal and can resurrect himself. Cruel also possesses super strength and brandishes razor-sharp claws and teeth. Number 3. Garba-Hsien. Garba-Hsien is also a mutant belonging to the group known as Externals. External mutants are beings that are basically considered immortal, forever walkers, as N. Sabanur once referred to them as. Garba-Hsien also belonged to a group within the Externals known as the High Lords, the self-proclaimed leaders of the Externals. Not to be confused with the Eternals, by the way. Externals and Eternals, two different things. Garba-Hsien is known as being capable of resurrecting himself and has a strong healing factor. However, immortality does not mean that he can't be destroyed. Although Externals are powerful and hard to defeat, Garba-Hsien could be defeated through having his life force energy drained or his heart consumed by another External. His powers have generally been known to be based in the realm of magic. In fact, his magical shapeshifting abilities combined with his resurrection powers is why I thought of him as demonic, namely because he is known for shapeshifting into a fearsome and demonic dragon who can breathe fire. You can see this referred to in Gambit Volume 3 Issue 1, where Gambit set out to raid the tomb of Garba-Hsien's 12th son. Number 2. Storm. But when was Storm demonic, you ask? Well, this isn't quite the Storm you've always known. This is a version of Storm from Limbo, where magic was raised. She not only has the same powers as her Earth 616 counterpart, but she also possesses a vast magical knowledge and abilities. She even trained young Ilyana in magics for a while during her time in Limbo. But in the end, magic had to kill her to prevent this version of Storm from Earth 8280 from being used by Belasco as a sacrifice in a ritual intended to free himself from Limbo. Which obviously would be bad news, because Belasco's a pretty bad dude. Number 1. Selene. One of the oldest mutants around, Selene is known for being 17,000 years old. Her powers both allow her and require her to drain life force energy. If she doesn't, she'll die. She can use this psychic energy to increase her own strength, speed, and durability, as well as maintain her immortality and her eternal youth. Feeding off life energy, though, often leads to her killing her victims, turning them into dust. Although she can choose to drain only some life energy from her victims, which allows them to live but also grants Selene full control over them. if she so chooses. She also has a slew of other powers, including telekinesis, telepathy, and pyrokinesis, and was once a member of the inner circle of the Hellfire Club. She is currently residing on Krakoa with many of the other mutants. There, she is in charge of helping to monitor the amount of psychic energy that herself and Krakoa drain from the population. She is actually allowed to feed off the population as part of the rules of Krakoa, wherein the Quiet Council agreed to provide whatever sustenance necessary to the mutants who joined that nation. And oh yeah, the sentient land of Krakoa feeds off of the psychic energy of its populace, in case you didn't know that. Selene was also originally known in Uncanny X-Men Volume 1 as the Demon Huntress. I like that alias for her. Number 10, Trigon. Trigon is the father of Titan member Raven. Raven is known for insane power levels and her need to constantly keep them in check by not letting her emotions fly off the handle. This has often led to her being inaccurately labeled as an apathetic character. However, it's kinda just the opposite with her, to be honest. Raven is actually extremely empathic, which actually means she has to be even more careful when it comes to her emotions, because she not only has her own feelings that could potentially unleash a darkness within her, but also the emotions of everyone else around her. If you've seen Raven go dark, it's pretty terrifying, and this side of her pretty much exclusively comes from her dad, Trigon. Trigon is also known for being an insanely jacked demon lord, both in body and in power levels. Definitely not someone you would want to mess with, which is also typically why other folks usually try to steer clear of messing with Raven as well, because they are smart enough to avoid risking giving Trigon any reason to have a vendetta against them, which honestly, smart. Would not want to deal with that guy. Number 9, Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil was part of Azazel's army, a member of the Neophem. The Neophem are basically demonic mutants, so expect to maybe see a few more of their numbers on this list, other than Ophis and Yggdrasil. After Azazel and the other Neophem were exiled to the Brimstone Dimension following a feud with the Chearaphem, basically the opposite of the Neophem, angelic mutants, they plotted to one day escape their hellish dimension. They even temporarily succeeded and were fought against by the X-Men. Angel was captured in the fight and given to Yggdrasil to torture, but was saved when Yggdrasil was killed. Yggdrasil, like Angel, also had wings and could fly. He was also superhumanly strong and dexterous. Ooh la la. Number 8, Kiwi Black. Kiwi Black is Nightcrawler's half-brother. He is the son of Azazel and likely an indigenous Polynesian woman from New Zealand, as he is part Maori. He was depowered on M-Day, which is why he takes one of the bottom spots, but when he did have powers, they were pretty neat. He could channel bioenergy and use it to increase his strength, or channel it through other beings via touch to disrupt their powers or cause their organs to malfunction. He could also channel this energy through natural surroundings in order to alter it. For example, smashing craters in the ground, or using his powers to cause rock formations to appear shooting up out of the ground. Originally, Kiwi Black worked along Azazel, helping him to try and free his army from the dimension that they were trapped in and transport them to Earth. However, after surviving a sacrificial ritual, he ended up rebelling and instead allied himself with the X-Men. That's what happens when you find out your dad's trying to use you as a gateway. Dang. Time to join the good guys, I guess. Number 7, Sapna. Sapna became, for a time, Magic's sort of protege. Her mutant powers allowed her to absorb and understand any languages she came into contact with, similar to Cypher. The difference was, at the time when Sapna's powers manifested, she was in Limbo. This led her to absorbing all of the magical knowledge in the Limbo dimension, which granted her additional demonic abilities. As a result, she became a magic user who could control demons and cast spells. Magic even suspected that Sapna was capable of reanimating the dead. Unfortunately, we never got to find out, as Sapna met her demise when the World Eater used her as a host and Magic was forced to kill her, trapping her spirit for a time inside her soul sword. Number 6, Nils Steiger. Steiger is known by the codename of Abyss. Steiger? Stigger? Which one is it? He is also half-brother of Nightcrawler, on his father's side, meaning that he is also the son of Azazel. His powers allow him to unravel his body, which is made of wrappings. Yeah, if you've ever wondered what a mutant mummy would be like, this is pretty much it. He can use his wrappings to defend himself and attack with them, and when wrapped up, his body is made more durable by his wrappings. Like his half-brother, he also shares a link to the Brimstone dimension. In the center of his chest, underneath his wrappings, is a dark void that when revealed acts like a black hole, so he can use it to suck in enemies, transporting and trapping them in the Brimstone dimension for as long as Abyss sees fit. Nils can also absorb fear energy and use it to power himself. Unfortunately, he was depowered during M-Day, then repowered by the Terrigen Mist, but only to be depowered again later. Yeesh! Number 5, Sabretooth. While Sabretooth might not be more powerful than some of the mutants previously listed, he is still alive and still has his powers, albeit he is in exile right now. During the Weapon X series from 2017, Sabretooth found himself tied to the demonic world after he sacrificed himself to save his son Graydon from hell. I know, weird, right? What a weird time to become tied to demons, but let's talk about that. Victor had gone to hell to trade his soul for his son's, and as such he was reverted to a base animalistic state and was set free from the dimension by Marduk, who confessed that he would not enjoy torturing Sabretooth in hell, both while he was not competent enough to understand it, because he was all like animalistic, and while he had just earned such torture through a noble deed, as opposed to a series of bad ones. Marduk was like, why can't you just be terrible? I want you to be terrible again. So Marduk then allowed him to be resurrected, sending him out into the world once more, but now free of the conscience that we'd seen Sabretooth build throughout the last few arcs he'd had in the comics, trying to redeem himself. Kind of had like a heroic Sabretooth almost coming, but nope, he's gone. So now he's back, he's bad, and he's on a road back to hell. Hence him being a bad guy again. Sad. I kind of miss good guy Sabretooth. Do you guys miss good guy Sabretooth? Probably not. Let me know in the comments. Number 4. Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler has all sorts of demonic ties. Firstly, he is the son of Azazel, who had a thing with his biological mother Mystique while she was married to Baron Christian Wagner. When Kurt was being born, Mystique lost momentary control of her powers while in labor, revealing to everyone her true nature. Because of baby Kurt's demonic form and Mystique's reveal of her ability to shapeshift, the two were chased down by an angry mob. During their fight, Mystique lost consciousness and lost baby Kurt in the process. Nightcrawler would go on to be taken in by Romani sorceress Margali Sardos. His teleportation powers link him to the Brimstone dimension, which he uses as a stepping stone to transport himself wherever he so chooses with his teleportation powers. The Brimstone dimension basically acts as a through point for Kurt, leaving a puff of smoke behind every time he uses it that smells of burnt brimstone. Bam! That's his teleportation sound. Bam! Number 3. Azazel. Azazel is a very powerful mutant. He even claims to have competed for the title of Satan, battling Mephisto and other demonic beings for it. Azazel mated with humans in an attempt to create offspring that would help him and his army to escape the hell dimension that they were trapped in, using his children as a gateway to bring them through to Earth. He himself could teleport to Earth for periods of time due to his insanely strong teleportation powers. His affair with Mystique, who was married at the time, brought about baby Nightcrawler, and Mystique actually may have been the only Earthling that he ever truly cared for. / maybe even loved. His powers include immortality, teleportation, in fact it has been said that he is one of the most powerful teleporters to ever exist, the ability to physically influence one's will, and the ability to metamorph. Number 2. Madeline Pryor. Madeline Pryor is ranking high on this list because there's a good chance that she could be Omega level. Maddie was the clone of Jean Grey, one of the most powerful mutants that we know of currently. While she doesn't do it often, Pryor actually has the ability to warp reality. She is also virtually immortal, as whenever she is killed, although her physical form ceases to exist, she herself simply reverts to a psionic energy form due to her ties with the Phoenix Force. This is why Nate Grey was able to actually bring her back to life. When it comes to her demonic ties, Madeline is a magic user and sorceress who once made pacts with demons. That's actually how she got those powers, becoming the Goblin Queen. She has also used those ties to summon demonic creatures and get them to do her bidding. Number 1. Magic. Ilyana Rasputin was kidnapped when she was just a little girl by Belasco and taken to Limbo. While there, she was given tons of power by Belasco, but Belasco was also controlling of her and pretty much a big creep the entire time. He put part of her soul into a bloodstone to solidify his control over her. Despite this, eventually Magic would train and rise up against him using some of her life force to craft her now famous soul sword and overthrow Belasco, later becoming the new ruler of Limbo. She even made the demon Sim her loyal servant for a while. Though being a slippery demon, he would eventually betray her. Unsurprisingly, that's such a Sim thing to do, you know what I mean? Number 10. Ophis. Ophis was a large, frightening, demonic mutant also belonging to the Neophem. He had an insane level of strength and durability. If Yggdrasil was the dark opposite of Angel, then Ophis was the dark opposite to Wolverine, which is saying something about just how dark and demonic he was, as Logan himself is a pretty dark side. As such, in the battle with X-Men, Ophis ended up torturing a captured Wolverine, but during the destruction of Azazel's castle, he ended up getting an arm free, and well, that was kind of the end of Ophis, cause you know, snicked. You know how it goes. Literally the next panel, just Wolverine. Snicked. He dead. Claws to the head. What a way to go.
Up next at 9, Mephisto. Mephisto is Marvel's Satan equivalent, a demon who was based off of Mephistopheles of Faust legend. First appearing in 1968's Silver Surfer issue 3, Mephisto has long been a mainstay in Marvel's demonic world. He's a trickster, an extremely powerful mortal demonic entity who can manipulate the forces of magic in order to give him a range of abilities, which include superhuman strength, the ability to shapeshift and shift size, project illusions, manipulate memories, alter time, and avoid injury. If his physical form is destroyed, he can regenerate and reform in his own realm and then return. He acquires souls but cannot subjugate the will of another being without that being's permission, hence his infatuation with making pacts and deals. Up next, number 8, Blackheart. Blackheart was actually created by our previous number, Mephisto. This character first appeared in Daredevil issue 270 in 1989. He is a son that Mephisto created from the energy of accumulated evil. That sounds fun. Blackheart is highly intelligent, can manipulate energy, warp reality, shapeshift, is telepathic and telekinetic, has an accelerated healing factor, magical and mystical powers, and superhuman physical attributes. He also has no soul, and can call forward armies from hell. Moving on to number 7, Set. Set is an elder god, one who got a little greedy in the Marvel Universe. Now, Set had realized that he could become the most powerful of all elder gods by devouring other gods, and therefore decided to murder his fellow brethren in an attempt to harness their power for himself. In doing so, he became the first ever murderer on Earth. The more he murdered, and other gods who followed suit murdered, the more they would degenerate into demons, hence why Set is now a demon. He and his brother Shitton were the worst for this, and degenerated into ghastly demonic entities. Set's got a whole lot of snake heads. If you don't like snakes, not the demon for you. Although why you would be choosing a demon for you is a question of its own. Moving on to number 6, a DC character finally, Necron. Necron is creepy as f***. Created in 1981, he is a DC character who first appeared in Tales of the Green Lantern Corps issue 2. Necron draws power from souls and commands all of the souls and spirits of individuals who had died. Like, anyone who has died. So yeah, kind of explains the whole scary aesthetic, eh? Anyway, the power he draws from allows him to pull off a lot of horrifyingly nifty tricks, including darkness manipulation, dark energy manipulation, necromancy of course, godly strength, invulnerability. He has a fatal touch, which is exactly what the name implies. He can manipulate souls, energy, matter, and dimensions. He is telepathic, can warp reality, alter his own size, project dark lightning, and of course, he's immortal. In at 5, Dormammu. The longtime foe of Doctor Strange, Dormammu is a demon that debuted back in the Silver Age in Marvel's panels in Strange Tales issue 126 in 1964. Created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, the character is known as the Lord of Chaos and the Great Enigma, and is considered one of the most powerful mystical entities within the Marvel Universe. Now, he's a threat to the life of the universe itself, and is an interdimensional demon composed of mystical energy that can be used to achieve pretty much whatever effect he desires. He can create his own demon lords, and he has been known to be capable of having a universal, even multiversal scale of influence. He lives in the dark dimension where he is stronger thanks to the empowerment of his worshippers and followers. Up next at number 4, Barbatos. Barbatos is the second most recent character on this list in terms of creation. Barbatos was introduced to us during the Dark Knight's Metal event in 2017, in which Batman had accidentally discovered that a dark multiverse lies beneath the regular multiverse. The more he investigated, the more he opened up the gates between the multiverses accidentally, in which this sinister demon decided to send evil alternate versions of Batman over into the regular multiverse, with the intention of invading it and turning it dark. Barbatos is known as the Bat God, created by the World Forger to consume universes that had decayed. Barbatos would kill his creator out of the lust for destruction, and because he was no longer doing his designated job, unstable worlds just kinda stuck around for much longer than they should have, becoming part of this dark multiverse. Moving on to number 3, Shuma Gorath. Shuma Gorath is an ancient evil, arguably the most powerful ancient demon to ever exist in the Marvel Universe. Mephisto and Dormammu both claim to be inferiors to Shuma Gorath, and that kinda speaks volumes, doesn't it? So, who is this big ol' spiky tentacled eye? Well, sometimes referred to as the Lord of Chaos, this demonic entity can manipulate reality, project energy, shapeshift, levitate, teleport, has vast mystical powers, and of course, is immortal. Can't be on this list unless you're an immortal, right? In the early days of Earth's history, Shuma Gorath demanded human sacrifice before being banished by a time-traveling sorcerer. He would try to return to Earth via the mind of the Ancient One, which caused Doctor Strange to have to kill the Ancient One in order to prevent this from happening. Up next in our number 2 spot, Null. Null is the symbiote god. Created in 2018 in Venom issue 3, Null is an ancient evil deity who created the Clintar race, and a weapon known as the All-Black, the Necrosword. Null, who lived deep within the void in which it drifted ceaselessly, was intruded upon by the Celestials and the light of creation that spoiled its kingdom of darkness. So it sought out revenge, murdering Celestials, including the one whose severed head became nowhere. Anyway, Null has superhuman strength, speed, is immortal, is capable of umberkinesis, can create symbiotes and dominate them, can manipulate dark matter, generate matter, manipulate said matter, has a healing factor, can shapeshift, and is greatly skilled in hand-to-hand combat. The last one just kind of feels like a cherry on top, doesn't it? And finally, last but not least, in at number 1, Chthon. Chthon is some scary Previously an elder god, Chthon has degenerated into a demon, all thanks to his insatiable greed for power and murdering other gods. Don't you just hate it when you degenerate into a demon because you've just been murdering people? I know I do. Anyway, Chthon has been kicking around the Marvel Universe for billions and billions of years. He's got some terrifying powers. The ability to manipulate reality, use dark and chaos magic, in which he has an unimaginable mystical power, which allows him to warp, manipulate, and reconstruct the very fabric of existence and reality to his whims. He has created his own dimension in which he controls every aspect of its reality. He's telepathic. He can take over a mortal's body as a host on Earth, although he can't transfer his totality of power into said body, thank God. It's too much for that physical form to contain. Oh, and of course, he also has a genius level intellect.